I didn't really plan this, so forgive me if my thoughts are all over the place, but I just watched One Piece episode 1015, and the reason why I watched it, even though I've been a manga reader for many years now since I switched from anime to manga all the way back at Dressrosa, is one, this specific episode adapts the momentous chapter 1000 of the manga of One Piece. And since the Wano arc started, I've been hearing on the streets that the animation quality has drastically improved, but even then, I still choose not to watch the anime because the manga will always be better. Right? My second reason, even though I haven't been watching the anime for years now like I said earlier, is because I saw that Megumi Ishitani is the one directing it. And it speaks volumes when even me, a manga-only fan, have heard of Ishitani and all the godly works that she's been doing with the anime. God bless her soul. And the last reason why I decided to break my rule and finally watch an episode of One Piece is funnily enough because of my little brother, who, mind you, is not a One Piece fan or an anime fan in general. I literally stepped out of my room just to get a drink last night, and when he saw me, the first thing that he asked me is if I have watched the latest episode of One Piece. Like, what? If even my normie brother have seen it and thinks that it's absolutely amazing, then what am I doing? And so, I watched it, and it was fucking amazing! The first thing that came to mind after I finished watching it is this is what PEAK Shounen looks like. This is what PEAK One Piece looks like. We are at the summit of Mount fucking Everest. This is the reason why One Piece is the greatest anime of all time. I think I got teary-eyed for at least 5 times all throughout the episode. From the solid animation, the pacing, the soundtrack, and those buttery and smooth transitions melded together into one cohesive and phenomenal episode. Ishitani is officially goated. She did an incredible fucking job, like hands down to her and her crew at Toei. This is an easy 10 out of 10. What an absolutely phenomenal episode. But I wonder, how accurate is episode 1015 of the anime compared to chapter 1000 of the manga? I'm sure they added a bunch of anime original scenes and probably cut some manga panels for the sake of better pacing, but to what extent? Let's break it down, shall we? The episode begins in an anime original sequence right off the bat, with Ace falling asleep in the middle of a conversation with Yamato and waking back up to continue their conversation about Oden and Luffy. In the manga, chapter 1000 actually opens with Luffy arriving at the stairs going up to the roof of Onigashima where Kaido and Big Mom is. The first 2 pages of chapter 1000 of the manga is actually left out in episode 1015 because they already got animated in episode 1014. The Luffy arriving at the stairs and him thanking the 3 musketeers for their work, Marco holding back King and Queen with his Phoenix abilities, and throwing Zoro on the rooftop are all in the previous episode. The next sequence in the anime is where we actually adapt the contents of chapter 1000 with the episode going back to the present with Yamato and Momo talking about the D initial, the journal of Oden, how Momo was actually born on Whitebeard's ship and then sailed with Roger's ship, and the chaos that the new generation will bring into the new world. We then go back to the flashback with Yamato and Ace, with Ace having a slip of a tongue and actually telling Yamato about Luffy's dream of becoming the Pirate King. And he warns Yamato not to laugh at Luffy's dream because they believe that he can achieve it. And Yamato promising Ace that she won't laugh at his brother and tearing up a little bit because that's the same words that the King of the Pirates declared. This whole sequence is adapted directly frame by frame from the manga. As the camera zooms in on Yamato's eye, we enter a pastel-like world, which is an amazing anime original sequence wherein Yamato sees Sabo and Ace and Luffy declaring their dreams to the world. And then we pan out to Roger telling Whitebeard and Oden how they can be the greatest pirate group in the world if they can just reach the final island. This scene with Roger talking to Whitebeard and Oden was taken from chapter 966 titled Roger and Whitebeard. This was after their epic Conqueror Saki clash when Roger begged Whitebeard to lend him Oden for a year so that he can reach the final island with Oden's help. I also want to highlight this particular scene because the framing of it is very interesting. We got Ace with Whitebeard and Luffy with Roger. Makes sense. Ace is the second commander of the Whitebeard Pirates and he considers Whitebeard his family. Calls him Pops for Christ's sake. And Luffy wants to become the Pirate King like Roger. And this also reminds me of a scene back on Logtown when Luffy met that old guy at a bar and he saw Roger to Luffy. But what caught my attention here is Sabo with Oden. Well, Sabo and Oden are both dead. At least before the time skip. But we all know that Sabo was actually alive. So, is Oden also alive? I mean, that's bullshit, but at chapter 1007, spoiler alert for all anime-only fans, you can skip to this timestamp if you don't want to be spoiled, but at chapter 1007, Oden came back to life, which was shocking. But it turns out that it was a fake. Kanjuro drew Oden just to mess with the Scabbards. But another thing that Sabo and Oden might have in common is Sabo is part of the Revolutionary Army who wants to free the world at the hands of the Celestial Dragons. And Oden wants to free Wano from the clutches of Kaido. Both of them fights to free something. But moving from all of that, we're still at Yamato and Ace's flashback and they're still talking about Luffy's dream and how in Oden's journal, there's also a great man who said the same thing as Luffy did. Of course, Yamato is talking about Roger here, and Ace thinks that it will be fun to have a drink with this great man, which is ironic because he hates his father. Yamato and Ace then promise to see each other on the seas one day, and in order to do that, Yamato asked Ace for his nail clippings so that she can make a BB card for him, which was an anime original scene because in the manga, after they talk about having a drink with Roger, the next scene is already Yamato giving Ace the BB card. No asking for nails or hair clippings, but this was a necessary addition so that you get informed on how BB cards are created. Ace and Yamato then say their goodbyes to each other. In the manga, it was just a simple, let's meet up again one day, but in the anime, they added this whole sequence of Ace riding the striker and him backpedaling, which was beautiful, and Yamato climbing this mountain just to say goodbye to Ace. And after this, in the manga, we go back to the present with Yamato narrating how that's the last time he saw Ace. But in the anime, they added this heart-wrenching original sequence which shows Ace's BB card burning and Yamato wreaking havoc inside Onigashima because she wasn't able to save his one and only friend. And then the anime shows this scene back at Marineford to really nail how devastating Ace's death not only to Yamato but also to Luffy. We see Yamato hurting herself, trying to break the sea stones on her hand, and at her back is Kaido, ready to calm her down and beat the shit out of her. We then go back to the present. Yamato tells Momo how she learned later on that Ace was Roger's son, and what Oden wrote down in his journal regarding the future. And we get this amazing double-page spread of Luffy, Law, Kid, Killer, and Zoro face to face against Big Mom and Kaido. This double-page spread alone would have sufficed it, but in the anime, they actually added an anime original scene on how the five of them got to the rooftop, which was not shown in the manga at all. After the scene with Yamato in the manga, next page, boom, greatness. But in the anime, we see that Kid and Killer was running on the stairs and was the first ones to arrive at the scene. Law was inside in the Poneglyph's room and then uses his abilities to teleport on the rooftop instantly. Last episode, we saw Zoro get thrown by Marco to the rooftop. This episode, we see him still flying at mid-air, but Law catches him no problem. And then, there's Luffy, destroying the door to the rooftop with a single punch, walking out to the group like a fucking mafia boss, and we get this sick transition from Oden burning to Luffy emerging from the fire like Oden saying, "My time has already passed, so it's your turn now, kid. Show me what you got." It's so fucking hype. The animators and director really went ham with this anime original sequence. At the midst of the face-off, Luffy noticed something and walked silently at the middle of two Yonkos, passing through them disrespectfully of course, and there he saw the 9 red scabbards lying on the ground, bloodied and beaten to death. From this point onwards, the anime adapts the manga pretty much one-to-one with a few added scenes to give context and also to empower the teams and the impact of what's gonna happen. We see Luffy picking up a half-dead Kinemon and apologizing that it took him so long to arrive. Kinemon tells Luffy that because they lost, he would not be able to face Oden in the afterlife. And then Kinemon asks Luffy if he can carry Wano in his back, while clutching on Luffy's back, literally. And the framing of this next scene was really powerful because as Kinemon says that, Kaido appears at Luffy's back like saying, "If you want to carry Wano on your back, then face me." And that's what Luffy does. As Kaido swings his kanabo like a guillotine, Luffy commands Law to teleport the red scabbards to a safe place. And then, Luffy dodges. At mid-air, Luffy turns to gear third. And as Luffy prepares for his iconic attack, we get this beautiful montage of all the significant and important events leading up to this battle. From Oden's execution 20 years ago, Raizo was safe, Pedro's sacrifice, Yasue's execution at the Flower Capital, Momo's speech at the prisoner mine, and finally the charge to Onigashima. All of this culminates to Luffy's charge of attack that even Kaido did not expect. Red Rock. And to end this amazing episode run, we get the iconic and that was episode 1015 of One Piece, or Roof Piece. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't plan for this, so my thoughts are all jumbled up. But I greatly enjoyed making this video. If you like what you saw and still wants more, then I can maybe do this weekly for every episode of One Piece from here on out. But I want to make sure that you like this type of content, so like the video and comment down below if you want me to continue making this type of videos. And that's all for me for now. See you in the future.